the Muslim Ummah. And each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah. Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam. Each man at each hour, in all of his power, each flower, each tree.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our episode 21 of this exciting journey, the Islamic hidden heritage of Europe. I'm Dr. Stef Keris Abu Yasser, and I'm taking you through this journey which is as exciting as it is amazing. I'm the author of the book, Europe's Forgotten Ottoman Heritage, which we have shown in the previous episodes. It focuses on my home country, Greece, and it talks a little bit about the Ottoman heritage and Ottoman culture in Greece and the surrounding. Now, this episode will focus on the Benelux region, the Benelux countries. The question is, what are these countries? What is this Benelux region? Many people are not aware that Benelux is simply an abbreviation for the following three countries. Be for Belgium, Ne for the Netherlands, and Lux for Luxembourg, which is the smallest country. Now, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, indeed tiny countries in the heart of Europe, as we can see on the map. Sandwiched between France and Germany, you can see Belgium, the blue country above France, and in the north of it, the Netherlands, the eastern neighbor or western neighbor of Germany. Under Belgium, the very tiny Luxembourg. Small countries, but of importance, because they used to play an important role in history. The Netherlands and Belgium used to be basically one country until Belgium's independence in 1830. That's the reason why Belgium is divided between two peoples, two different kind of languages. Now you have the Dutch-speaking Flemish people, who are 60% of the country, and the French-speaking people, who actually are the Walloons, who are 40% of Belgium. Brussels, as the capital, is officially bilingual, but the truth is that French plays the bigger role there, and even English is more important than Dutch. And this is something that, of course, for the French speakers is unacceptable, and for the Dutch speakers as well. So the Dutch speakers, especially seeing that Brussels is supposed to be a bilingual country, French and Dutch, although French, of course, plays a bigger role, the Dutch speakers have an issue with that. In general, that shows you a little bit the divide between these people in Belgium. There is, basically you can say, no real Belgian identity. The identity of this country is not as the identity of the French is in France, for example, or the Germans in Germany, who have one country and one language that unites them. Belgium is divided, as we just said, between these two peoples, these two different languages, but there is a third minority again of people who are close to the German border and they speak German, and they're also Belgians. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit a complex situation. It reminds you a little bit of the Balkan, I think. The Balkan countries are pretty much on the same level, or Belgium is pretty much on the same level like the Balkan countries. But, however, Belgium and its capital, Brussels, has also become the capital of the European Union. Now, unofficially, but still it is the capital of Europe. The Netherlands plays as a country also a very important role, and we will see for the development of Islam and for the Muslims in Europe, it will even play a bigger role. Belgium, simply because it's divided between French and Dutch speakers, the Dutch-speaking part concentrates on following whatever is happening in Holland, and the French-speaking part is concentrating on what's happening in France. So France and Holland, the Netherlands, will play an important part for the development of the Muslims and Islam in Belgium. The Netherlands is a country which doesn't have more than 16 million inhabitants, still more than the Belgians. The Belgians are around 10 million. And Luxembourg is a small country where we're not going to focus too much on it because it is not that important for the, to talk about the percentage of Muslims in such a tiny country, but we focus pretty much on Belgium and on the Netherlands, which plays a bigger role in the world. Amsterdam in the Netherlands, as well as Brussels in Belgium, has a very high percentage of foreign-born people, as well as it has a very high percentage of Muslims. If you walk through the center of Brussels, for example, on a Sunday, where the Sunday market is on, you will see mainly Muslim of North African descent walking within this very center of Belgium, of Brussels. You will think that basically you are somewhere in Morocco, in Algeria or Tunisia. And indeed, the biggest population of people living in Belgium as well as in the Netherlands who practice Islam are basically Moroccans. The second biggest population are the Turks. So it's a Turkish and a North African type of Islam that we are talking about here in these countries. Now again, as we said, the population of Belgium is not more than 10 to 11 million. The population of the Netherlands around 16 million people. But with more than 1 million foreigners or foreign-born people, both countries have a high percentage of foreign-born population. The Benelux countries, just to get a better idea again, here we can see on this slide the Benelux countries in depth actually. We can see the Netherlands in the north, Belgium in the south, Germany, the mighty neighbor, in their eastern side, and Luxembourg, of course, under Belgium. Now, these neighbors, as we said before, played an important role for the development of these countries. And Islam, as we can see here on this photo, a mosque in Den Bosch, which is a mosque in Holland. Den Bosch is a country in the Netherlands. Now, I keep saying Holland. You might think, like, what is he saying? Now, what is it, the Netherlands or Holland? Holland is basically a province in the Netherlands, but is equally used for the country. So you can say Holland for the entire country, but you can also refer to the small province of the Netherlands, which is called Holland. The same, like in the case of the UK, you can say UK or Great Britain or England. England is just a part of the UK. So in that case, the Netherlands, Holland is a province, but you can use it to mean the entire country. So Den Bosch is a city in the Netherlands, and we can see this mosque. The interesting thing that we can see, the interesting case of this mosque, for example, or mosques like these, is that they don't have a typical Turkish Ottoman structure, nor do they have a typical Moroccan North African structure. No, what's happening? Why not? Why? Simply because there's a third group that plays a role in the Netherlands, a third Muslim group. These are the Surinamese. These are the people who come from Suriname. Suriname is the smallest country in South America, which used to be called Dutch Guyana. It used to be one of the Guyanas above Brazil. It's one of the tiniest countries in America. The smallest one is South America. So Surinamese people, around 200,000, live in the Netherlands, and some of them, around 20 to 25% of them, are Muslims. And they built a mosques like these with this kind of architecture, which indicate that they originally are actually Indians. They come from the Indian subcontinent, although they are living, or they were living, in Suriname, and then they moved from Suriname and went to their ex-motherland, to the Netherlands. So this is very different. Islam in that case, and the architecture, the Islamic buildings in the Netherlands are in that case different to the ones in Belgium. This photo here shows you the National Mosque of Brussels. as you can see, very, very different to the one you saw just now before in the Netherlands, simply because Suriname and South America and the people of Indian descent had nothing to do with this kind of mosque and nothing to do with the architecture of the mosques in Belgium. The Central Mosque of Brussels is, as it says, the national mosque is the central one where any kind of Muslim can be found, any kind of Muslim goes there for lectures, and it is a very active center, it's a very active mosque. And you can see the structure is different to the one before. It has a little bit a North African touch, and it is run by mainly Moroccan, North African people. Now, the Benelux countries, mainly Belgium and the Netherlands that we're talking about, have several issues, and they've made news. Unfortunately, they've come into the news for problems that can be found in these countries. There is a rise of Islamophobia. There is a problem that's going on after September 11, 2001 in the United States. This affected the Muslim population in these two countries, or in these three countries, and one of the most important points that has to be mentioned here, especially in Belgium, is the niqab ban. Now, as in France, as I said before, Belgium is a country, because it's divided between a French and a Dutch-speaking part, they do focus a lot on their neighbors. Whatever they do in the Netherlands, the Dutch speakers would like to copy. Whatever they do in France, the French speakers would like to copy. The niqab ban is one of these incidents, one of the situations that indeed they have taken the niqab ban from France over, and they're implementing this also in Belgium. The niqab is banned in Belgium, and this has forced many women and many people, many families to actually emigrate, to leave Belgium. And I know quite some families who have moved to the UK because of the freedom that is still in the UK for Muslims. Persecution is a second point. Yes, because of that, of course, persecution is happening. Muslims have to pay a fine. Muslim women have to pay a fine if they wear niqab. So obviously, this has affected the situation of the Muslims in this part of the world. Right-wing parties have come up, of course, they're in the rise, and unfortunately, in both countries, in the Netherlands as well as in Belgium, you will find a big percentage of right-wing extremists and incidents that unfortunately have not really made it to the news, but we keep hearing about insults on the streets, we keep hearing about dislocation, we keep hearing about putting mosques on fire, to breaking windows of mosques, etc., etc. But we'll have to go to the break now, and after the break we're going deeper into the issue of the Benelux countries, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam.
Welcome to a new edition of your program, Gardens of the Pious. In the series of explaining the marvelous collection of Riyadh al-Salihin by Imam al-Nawawi, may Allah have mercy on him. The Prophet ﷺ said, the reward for the salah which is offered by a person in jama'ah, in congregation, is more than 20 times greater than of the same salah performed in one's house. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship,
there is no God worthy of worship
but Allah alone. And I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, was his last messenger.
Is his last messenger.
And nights, may Allah make every moment that we live in this life a happy moment for his sake and worship.
Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back after the break. we unfortunately had to, before the break, had to mention the issue of the niqab ban in Belgium. And Belgium has moved towards the same direction that France has moved to. It banned the niqab in official places, in public places, and had put a fine on it. Basically, women who are wearing the niqab are criminalized. Imagine now, you're a Muslim woman, you're wearing a niqab, and suddenly you're stopped on the street of Paris or Brussels, and you're told that you have to pay a fine because you're wearing a niqab. You're on the same level like somebody who breaks into somebody's house. Imagine, you're a criminal. Imagine you kill somebody and you're on the same level as somebody who is basically Muslim. Now, unacceptable again for a country which claims to be democratic, following human rights, etc., etc. I leave the rest up to you. The Netherlands play as an important role as the Belgium with regards to Islamophobia and xenophobia. I remember, some personal issues whenever I go back to the Netherlands and I go and visit my mother-in-law. She keeps telling me that this country has changed very much, drastically. She has been living in this country for more than 30 years, in the Netherlands, more than 30, 40 years actually. And she remembers the time the way it used to be. And as somebody who is not of Dutch descent, who is not white or has Asian or American roots, even if you're not Muslim or African roots, you face situations nowadays where you feel that you're not welcome in this country. You're not welcome. And this all had to do with the attack of September 11, 2001, so that xenophobia took over, and automatically Islamophobia, because what do we do in Europe nowadays? We say all the Muslims are immigrants, and all immigrants are Muslims, and basically Islam is an immigrant religion, so these people are creating problems for us. Look what they did in New York, they can do the same here. They're a threat to our democratic society, to our secular type of thinking. Now, the Netherlands, they have followed this way of thinking, unfortunately, and they stigmatize Muslims or some Muslim communities nowadays in that part of the world, in the Netherlands, and especially after the incident of 2004, after the killing of the murder of Van Gogh on the 2nd of November 2004. This, of course, has increased in people thinking that, yes, I think we should move towards the right-wing parties. I think we should understand what Geert Wilders, the leader of the right-wing party in the Netherlands, what he's saying. Now, on this slide here, I would like to show you this very person, Geert Wilders, who is the leader of the right-wing party and who is the one who says basically that he feels overrun by Muslims and by Islamic elements in his country. He himself, by the way, his mother is originally from Indonesia, just to make a point here again. The killing of Van Gogh in the Netherlands played an important role, of course. After 2001, September 11, 2001, this, of course, had an effect on the population in Europe as well, not only in the States, not only in North America, but also in Europe. The Netherlands, strangely enough, has been affected very, very strongly after 2001, and more so, of course, after 2004, when one of the filmmakers, Van Gogh, was killed in the middle of a street in Amsterdam. And as we can see on the slide, this incident, the murder, happened by a Muslim Dutch person of Moroccan descent. And of course, this sparkled straight away the feelings of the Dutch population went, of course, against the Muslims directly, and they generalized issues, and of course every Muslim is now a killer, and every Muslim is a threat to Dutch society and to Dutch democratic values and norms as they think that they should be having them in this country. Now, we should not forget one important thing, without having to justify, of course, what happened. This is something that should not happen. A murder of a person is something that cannot be justified, but this person, this filmmaker, Theo van Gogh, was the person who insulted Muslims already before his film. He has written a book, and he is also the one who insulted Islam publicly. So it is quite a difficult issue here, but it happened, and it's a sad case, of course, that this happened because it affected us all in Europe, and it affects us all in Europe on a daily basis, and especially, of course, the Dutch Muslims. So this incident in Holland, in the Netherlands, 2004, of course, affected the Muslims in Holland. But in Belgium, we have another case. Unfortunately, on the 30th of December 2011, the Liège killing spree happened, which is not far away from, we are now in 2012, not long time ago. The person who basically, a gunman who killed 5 people and wounded 100 in the Belgian city of Liège, close to the German border. This very person had a Moroccan background, so he was basically Muslim, but it had nothing to do with Islam, and the lawyers also said later, of course, that he did not do it as a Muslim. They even said that he was not Muslim. But this incident, unfortunately, of course, is taken by the right-wing parties, especially with the strength that they have in the Benelux countries, in Belgium and the Netherlands. This incident is taken and blown out of proportion, and suddenly this person who might have had a problem, a personal issue, or whatever his problem was to do something like that, this person, just because he had a Muslim background or he comes from originally from a country which is a Muslim country, that this person basically did that because he was a Muslim, because of Islam. This, unfortunately, happens a lot in the Western world, and these incidents are taken out of proportion, are made big, and they affect heavily our situation in Europe and the Muslim population in Europe. Of course, this we hope, inshallah, that after the incident 2011, we are now 2012, that no more incidents like these happen. But unfortunately, we've seen in France the last incident in March 2012, which of course has affected the Muslims in France, but also in the rest of Europe. The Benelux countries, another word for them, by the way, is the low countries. The low countries because a big percentage of them, of its land, lies less than 1 meter above sea level. 50% to be exact, 50% of the Netherlands lies less than 1 meter above sea level. The capital of the Netherlands, the main capital is Amsterdam, but the seat of government is The Hague. In Belgium, the main capital is Brussels, and it is the European capital as well, as I mentioned before, and it plays a very important role for the European Union. So whatever happens in Belgium and Brussels affects the European Union in general as a union. We should not forget that. The majority of the population of the Netherlands are ethnically Dutch. However, a 2005 estimate counted the following: 80% Dutch people, 2.4% Indonesians, 2.4% Germans, 2.2% Turkish, 2% Surinamese, 2% Moroccans, and 0.8% Antillean and Aruban. Now, quite a mix of population, 20% of non-white backgrounds. Very interesting, of course, in the case of the Netherlands to see that for such a small country with a population of 16 million people, quite a big population of foreign-born people. But we should not forget that the Netherlands used to be a colonial power as well as France used to be one. Not as big, of course, as France or Britain, but the Netherlands used to possess the biggest Muslim country in the world, Indonesia. Indonesia used to be part of the Dutch Empire, the biggest Muslim country in the world. And of course, it's not surprising to have 2% of the population being of Indonesian descent. Not surprising at all. Belgium used also to be an empire, and it focused on Africa, on Central Africa, on countries like the Congo nowadays, Zaire, and Rwanda and Burundi. These three countries used to be Belgian colonies. So, again, it's not a surprise to find many people of African descent between the Belgian population. So, indeed, we're talking about a big mix of population and, of course, big population of Muslims in these two countries. We should not forget one last thing that I would like to mention before we finish this episode, that more than 5 million Americans claim total or partial Dutch ancestry. There are close to 3 million Dutch-descended Afrikaners living in South Africa. South Africa used to also be a Dutch colony. Now, with this one, I would like to end this episode, and I would like to thank you for your interest. See you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.
We are the Muslim Ummah, and each day that goes by, the harder we try. In gratitude we pray to Allah. Chosen as part of the best of mankind, we spread the word of Islam. Each man at each hour, in awe of his power, each flower, each tree, everything that we see. Spread the word, oh man, spread the word of Islam. Oh, fortunate one, paradise must be won.